Hi folks, welcome to SOCI 1010, Introduction to Sociology. This is lesson 1.1. Refer to the first page of your first study guide for some important information related to this lesson. Essentially, my purpose today is to answer the question of why should you study sociology? A real key for doing well in this class is to embrace and utilize what C. Wright Mills referred to as the sociological perspective or imagination. There's some information on the first page of the first study guide that will give you some background as to basically what he meant by the sociological imagination. This is really a different way of seeing. It's a perspective that can help you understand literally your relationship to the larger social structure or context, if you will, the social world of which you are a part, and how it shapes your ideas, attitudes, perceptions, behaviors, beliefs, and even your emotions. You're really looking for the relationship that exists between your individual personal experiences or life and the larger social world of which you are a part. That larger social world, as you will note on the first page of the first study guide, consists of some very important elements: society, culture, as well as patterned social relationships and what Henslin refers to as social locations, those corners in life that people occupy, he says, because of where they're located in society. We form these initially with interactions via family, friends, work associates, and the like. But they also lie beyond our circle of intimate ties and acquaintances and include such elements as age, gender, ethnic orientation, race, social class, just to name a few. And although the social structure or social world engulfs us from birth to death, that doesn't mean that our behavior is strictly determined by our links to it. We are not puppets whose behavior is programmed by the larger social structure. This relationship, rather, is reciprocal. We are shaped by, and at the same time, we influence the social structure or social world around us. After all, it's a human creation, and we can and do change what we have created. So think of it this way: it acts on us, but we act upon it. Now there's a difficulty or a problem with this, and it may be hard for some of you to initially grasp this because we are so caught up in our daily concerns that we don't recognize and understand the social forces or factors that are at work in our daily lives. What the sociological imagination or perspective asks you to do is to look behind the scenes. Don't just admire the scenery itself. What also complicates this is the fact that our way of living, our culture, emphasizes to a very great degree personal responsibility. So what happens is considered to be the result of individual choice. Our society is literally saturated with an emphasis on individualism. It shows up in literature, movies, TV programs praise it. I suspect if you think for just a moment about American folklore, you'll remember tales about Paul Bunyan and others, all stressing rugged individualism. We also love as a people rags to riches stories, some of them mythical, like Rocky Balboa, and others of them factual, like Oprah Winfrey. Notions abound in our society and culture that hard work, determination, self-reliance will allow anybody to overcome any kind of barrier. As a matter of fact, you even see this emphasized in some familiar sayings. It's all up to you. God helps those who help themselves. You need to look out for number one. One of my favorites No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And how many times have you heard this statement? You have nobody to blame but yourself. So elements of self-reliance, independence, and individual responsibility crop up again and again and again. I remember looking at some research some years ago in which an author highlighted the fact that it even shows up in children's stories. Something I'd never really thought about, but it's true. Take, for example, the three little pigs. Two take an easy route. The third labors hard to build a brick house. He survives because he's smart, well-prepared, industrious, and in the end, he's on his own. So as a result, we normally think of our problems as being a private matter of character or change or circumstance. In short, most of the time, we don't use social-based arguments to explain why things are the way they are, but rather psychological ones. So let's try a few applications of the sociological imagination or perspective. Ask yourself this question: why are you in college? I'm guessing that most of you will give me what you consider to be, as I did when I was in college, legitimate reasons, but most of these are going to be personal. Well, I want to stay close to home. Roane State Community College is convenient to me. My friends go to Roane State. Going to college is the best way for me to ensure a well-paying job. I don't have the money right now to go to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Now, these are legitimate reasons, but do they explain the whole story? If you employ the sociological perspective or imagination, you'll recognize that there are some larger social influences at work. For example, place. For many around the planet today, college is out of reach. Doesn't mean there aren't colleges and universities in their societies, but they're set aside primarily for the elites. Could the time in which you live actually influence your decision to go to college? Had you lived 200 years ago in the United States, would the choice of going to college been an option? Probably not. There were colleges and universities at that time, but they were populated primarily by white males. Could age figure in? Well, typically, college students are young, roughly 18 to 23 to 24, because in our society, college attendance is associated with that period in life. Could social class play an important role in this process? Well, all of you would agree going to college today is costly. So, no great surprise, most college students come from families with above average incomes, whereas low-income students, that is to say coming from low-income families, are much less likely to attend a college or a university. 2/3 of the wealthiest 25% of American families, when you focus on them, kids from those families, 2/3 of them enroll in four-year colleges within 2 years of graduating high school. But when you look at kids from lower income families, only 1 in 5 enroll in a college or a university 2 years after graduating from high school. High income students are more than 6 times as likely to graduate with a bachelor's degree within 5 years than low income students. And if you take social class one step further, it played a very important role in who lived and died when the Titanic sank in 1912. Over 1,500 people died. Only about 705 survived. What I find interesting is that more than half of the 325 first-class passengers survived. Only a fourth of the 710 steerage passengers, third class, that were down in the lower areas of the ship and had to fend for themselves, lived. Well, let's take a look at something else. Have you broken up with a significant other over the last year or 2 years of your life? Was that a personal decision completely across the board, or could there be larger social factors involved? Well, research does point out the fact that the risk of a relationship ending tends to increase as the supply of potential alternative relationships increases. If you want to put that in another way, if you and I think better relationships are available, we might be less committed to stay in our present relationship. And what drew you to your significant other in the first place? Think about those elements for just a moment. Don't they tend to reflect tastes and values of the larger society? And can and do these change over time? Could they become more or less attractive? Hairstyle, physique, clothing, certain behaviors. And then, one last question. Is any relationship totally or completely private? Don't all of them occur in a larger network involving friends, co-workers, fellow students, family, just to name a few? Have you ever heard this? You're going out with him? Why would you want to go out with her? So we're free to act upon our choices, but at the same time, very powerful social forces affect and influence us. Through the examination of sociology, I'm also convinced that you're going to be able to learn a number of key concepts, theoretical models, and perspectives that can literally, again, help you to order events in your life, maybe reinterpret your past, and also better understand cultural and social diversity. And finally, to provide more direction to your future. Likewise, what is equally important is that sociology can go a long way in disproving things that you take for granted. As some sociologists refer to this as the debunking function of sociology. For example, help me out a little bit here. What age group of Americans do you think is most concerned about becoming victims of violent crime? But statistically, this category, this age category, is the least likely. Got the answer? If you said people over the age of 65, you're right on. Finally, it's important for you to understand that sociology can benefit your lives as well as your careers. For example, here's a listing of what employers are seeking in prospective employees. This list is in sort of an arrangement of priorities, starting with the most important at the top, coming down to the bottom. Don't overlook this one, the ability to communicate in an efficient and effective way, both in writing and in speech. But if you look at 1 through 7, a lot of those have to do with interacting with people and communicating directly with people. That's the focus of sociology. So welcome aboard. I hope this proves to be an exciting and challenging and interesting experience for you.